in 2007 when Bush tried to pass immigration reform, the person who came into the room with the letter that killed it was named Barack Obama. He said, organized labor doesn't want a guest worker program, there won't be a guest worker program. Harry Reid and I are here to say no.
What do you view as the #1 challenge facing the modern Republican Party and conservative movement today?
I think it needs to speak on the immigration issue to make it very clear that they're the party of the future, that they're the party of inclusion. It's both in their policies and in the rhetoric. There are a handful of idiots who jump up and say incendiary, borderline bigoted things.
Sure.
And the good news is most of them are no longer in Congress because they've talked themselves out of the safe Republican seats.
Sure.
This is not acceptable behavior in solid Republican districts. It can get you on cable television, it can get you on talk radio, but it doesn't get your butt reelected. And so that's largely moving out. The high-tech community and the modern Republican Party, the people for an open economy, need more high-tech people. We need farm workers. We need a guest worker program. There are a whole series of things completely consistent with free market economics. And so I think that we'll get there on immigration. It's been slowed down because in 2007, when Bush tried to pass immigration reform, the person who came into the room with the letter that killed it was named Barack Obama. He said, organized labor doesn't want a guest worker program, there won't be a guest worker program. Harry Reid and I are here to say no.
Wow. Okay?
So we know that Obama is perfectly capable of playing the union card against immigration, against Hispanics, and he has. And you did see for 2 years, he had a Democratic president, Democratic House, Democratic Senate, supermajorities, and he didn't even write a bill to improve immigration at all. So it's not even on his to-do list. I mean, if somebody spends 700 days in a row, waking up, doing nothing on something, going to bed at night, and doing that again and again and again, somebody told you, I'm really looking to go to the gym and lose some weight. And then every day they get up and they don't go to the gym and they don't lose weight, and they do this for 700 days in a row. Do you believe they really want to do that? Or do you believe they're willing to talk and tell you they want to do that? And that's how Obama's behaved on immigration. So getting immigration right is important to the economy. It's important to our national defense. And by that I mean American economic greatness and our position in the world stems from the fact that we do immigration better than everyone else. We do it poorly. We don't do it as well as we need to, but we do it better than everyone else. China is not the future because they cannot assimilate immigrants. China's got a declining workforce, and in a few years we'll have a declining population because some idiot talked them into one child. But they also have a culture that doesn't allow Swedish people to show up and decide to be Chinese.
Sure.
Any Swedes and Chinese people can show up in the United States, and in half a generation, they're American as apple pie. Japan, which in 1980, 81, 82 was going to be the Japan that can say no, Japan is #1. Except it's a shrinking population, and it's really rapidly shrinking. They have maybe 10% of the population were Koreans who came over, and 100 years ago, and they're still Koreans.
Sure.
They speak Japanese, and they're still not us. Europe doesn't do immigration. We can see how poorly they're doing it now. So the ability to do immigration, to have as young and productive a workforce and a nation as we choose, nobody else can do that. Saudi Arabia can't say, okay, all the brain surgeons are allowed to come here. Well, they can say that, but they won't come.
Sure.
We could take every brain surgeon and every pipe fitter in the world and have them come to the United States.
So you don't view there to be any kind of assimilation problem in the U.S. once immigrants come to this country?
Well, I think we have a problem. We have two problems. We have a welfare problem, and we have a lousy public school system.
Okay.
If there were no immigrants ever, if there were no other countries, if it was just us, we'd have a lousy public school system and a welfare program. Okay. So we should never mix the three. I mean, how intellectually dishonest, how self-delusional, and how insulting. That, hey, you new guys, you know the welfare program we created 75 years ago? That's your fault. Hey, I just got here. You know, hey, you guys, our public school system, 150 years old, the one that's bureaucratized and unionized and doesn't educate kids, that's your fault. I just got here. What are you talking about? We need to tackle the welfare system and reduce it and block grant all 100 welfare systems out to the states and let states compete on how do people get off welfare and become self-sufficient. We need to have complete parental school choice, voucherize everything in education, so every parent goes to any school, public, private, parochial, and says, hey, I've got the cash, treat me right, listen to my concerns, I want you to educate my kid, not tell me where to send them. So, and then immigration is a third challenge. But part of the problem with assimilation is a less than robust public school system. And that the kids who aren't learning English, most were born here.
No, absolutely. You know, on the immigration topic, one of the arguments that I hear from, decent, good people who are a little bit down because of a down economy, they don't have a job. Their biggest concern oftentimes is, if we bring in more people in this country, I'm not going to be able to get a job, or they're going to take away my job or my child's job. How do you view that, or how do you respond to that type of a narrative?
Just as welfare is its own problem, education is its own problem, economic growth is its own challenge. And under Obama, things have gotten worse, not better. If we had recovered, meaning creating jobs and more national income, the way we did after the recession that Reagan inherited, which also had double-digit inflation, and a recession, and a Soviet Union. So Obama's going, hey, we had a recession. It's the worst thing that ever happened in the world. He didn't have immigration, he didn't have the Soviet Union in his throat, but he did have unemployment. But from the recovery that started 7 months into Obama's presidency to now, if we'd recovered at Reagan levels, 10 million more Americans would be at work today, 10 million. We would have labor shortages in this country if we'd grown at Reagan levels. We need to do that. And the idea that the United States economy is a fixed pie is just wrong. We used to have 3 million people here at the beginning of the country. We now have 300 million people. We didn't steal each other's jobs. We created new jobs.